All right, next project is going to be the winch. If you remember in my gear video, I mentioned that I was going to get a winch. I was going to get the Harbor Freight one because if I'm going to use this once a year, twice maybe, that's probably about it. I don't need a $1,500 winch. Well, I did end up getting that Harbor Freight, the Badlands, with steel cable, and it turns out it doesn't fit. This is a tight spot, very tight. It says it fits most 12,000-pound winches. That winch, that Harbor Freight's maybe like 11 inches tall. That's too much for this. It doesn't fit at all. That thing was $550. I returned it. I started to look again for some winches, and we needed cheap and we needed small. Well, what I found was the Rough Country 12,000-pound winch. They say that is about 8 3/4 inch high. It is not. It's about 9 3/4, but it does fit. It barely fits, and I mean barely. It's absolutely maxed out. That's great that it fits, and it's also great because it's cheap. Now, we picked up the steel cable winch. If you don't know why I'm getting the steel cable and not a synthetic, is because freezing temperatures up here. If it rains, first of all, we get a ton of rain. Rain wouldn't be that bad. Rain, but rain then freezing, overnight freezing, that's a problem. If the synthetic gets wet and then it freezes, it's over. That's the only issue in synthetic. Everything else is great. So the problem is that then I'm in freezing conditions. More than half the year we'll have freezing nights. It'll get down in below freezing. Now, even if you take care of it, you forget one time and it's over. And those synthetic ropes they're expensive. So I got steel. You still gotta watch out with steel. Obviously, you still gotta take care of it. It can rust. There's a lot of things that can happen, but there's not going to be a blowout with freezing temperatures. So that's what we're going to use. $400. It was free shipping too, by the way, and it came right away. They shipped it right away. I placed the order, and next day it was in the mail. It was great. I think it came. There must be a location near here for shipping because it came in like 3 days. Couldn't believe it. So let's get started. This thing is heavy. Jesus, oh God. Got to have this cable a little bit long because you got to send it through the front or else you'll never get it in. Be careful, this thing's going to unroll on you. And then it's going to catch your shirt. Okay, one more time. Do not drop this thing on your stomach. Whatever you do. Oof. All right, so this is what I was afraid of. Now, make sure it's disengaged so that you can roll it by hand. And then what you're going to need to do is find a hole here and send it through if you can. If not, you're going to have to lift it up. But it's totally jammed in, so... Got a hole. And we'll send it through the front. And that's it. Got your good light set up here. One cool thing, you can see that hole right there and there's a nut in there. That's really handy because what happens is that it's a square nut. You drop that in there, and it's going to hold it for you. And all you got to do is worry about tightening up the bolt from underneath. That is pretty darn cool right there, I have to say. All right, you can see that one right there. I have threaded in, and then these two over here you can see, and I guess you can see that one in the back. I got to tell you, again, if you're installing this inside of a bumper and it's this specific bumper, without a doubt, it's going to be very difficult. I had to thread these all in by hand. There's no impact. You can't even use a ratchet on these. You have to use an open-ended or a boxed. That's the only way to do it. It's a 5/8. These 4 are 5/8 bolts, or 16 mils. I think either one will work fine. And man, if you're doing it on top of a bumper, you are in great shape because it's going to be extremely easy. This, it's not obviously not Rough Country's fault. I mean, it's not even Westin's fault. It's just the way it is. They wanted to weld in that support right by where you bolt the winch in, which makes complete and total sense. Okay, we have the winch bolted in. It's tightened up. The box wrench is going to be a friend on this, at least on a bumper, on the Westin HDX Pro, because there's no way to get a ratchet in there or impact or anything. You need a box. If you have a 12 point like I have, it's going to help you even more. So 12 points where it's at, 5/8. We got this cable through. Be careful because the winches have a tendency to roll back. That's why I have about 6 feet of cable out, because when you're working on it, it's possible you might nudge it. It'll roll back, and if this thing rolls back and jams underneath there, you're gonna have a real problem. You're gonna have to unbolt it. Pull out a bunch of cable. It's better safe than sorry. All right, we have the winch hooked up. We have the rollers hooked up. Everything's tight. And we have a bunch of cable out. All we need to do now is wire it. Now, this is something important. As of this moment, I only have one battery. So I am wiring this to my primary battery. Now, this is important to understand, is that if you are wiring this to your primary battery, you cannot use this winch. Well, you shouldn't be using the winch with the car off anyway, but you definitely can't use it. Even just unrolling it and rolling it back in with no load, do not use it with your car off. Now again, I'm not going to be using this much, but at some point in time I will be getting a second battery. I'll have a dual battery set up, and then I will make sure this is rerouted to the second battery. But for right now, I have a 220 amp alternator. If you watch my Snow Chief package video, 220 amp alternator. So just idling, maybe giving it a little gas, it's going to keep this battery charged up, no problem, even when this winch is under load. So that's good. All right, let's get it powered up, and then we're going to have to unravel the entire thing and bring it back in so that it's tight. All right, again, I'm on my phone here. This is the ground connection. And maybe you can see here. I don't know, can you see? Yeah, this is the power right here. So you're gonna be putting the red cable on here. It's got a little boot on it. And you're gonna obviously put the black on here. Now we're going, where the hell are we going? All right, here's where I just want to make sure you knew that the way I have this here, I have it underneath. There's a small hole here. Yeah, see the mounting hole? There's one here and there's one over there. I have it going through there instead of on the outside, just for a little bit more protection. I didn't want to go up here, obviously, because of the cable. So I have this stuffed underneath there, and I have it loosely zip tied here until I get it in position, and hopefully connected. But I have to say, it's going to be a miracle. All right, let me show you what I got. It does work. It barely fits. I need to use my phone, though, because it's the only way. Look what I'm doing here. Look at this. Look at this. I'm 6'1", and I got to use a step ladder. This is the ground, and I got the power here as well. It's coming out of, you can see that. There's my loosely zipped zip tie. And obviously I told you that the ground has the further distance to go. So what I think I'm going to do is, this is power steering. I think I'm going to zip tie it right here. I'm going to zip tie both of them right here. And I'm going to take the ground and I'm going to come through here and just, yeah, there we go. I'm going to loop it underneath here, and then you can see where I'm connecting it right there. Not ideal. I kind of wish I could come through. I wish I didn't have to go through this hole. I wish I could go further along and come through this hole, snake along the side. Now that would be nice, but we needed another 2 feet on the ground to make it. All right, hopefully you can see me and hear me. We got some wind going, but it is what it is. I have a tire here on a rim. It's very heavy. It's probably, I don't know, 65 pounds or something. I got a tree saver on it so I don't ruin the rim. I have the winch out maybe 85 feet. It's a 94-foot line. I probably have about 80 feet, I think. And what we're going to do is that we're going to spool it up. You got to do it under tension. This is a great way to do it, dragging a tire that weighs, it's pretty heavy. Ideally, you want it around a tree, but if you're doing that, you want somebody in the driver's seat too. You need two people. You really need two people because you need to operate the winch and you need somebody in the driver's seat just in case something bad happens. And because obviously you got to leave it in neutral. In this particular case, we're not leaving it in neutral. It's in park, and we're going to spool it up and we're going to hold it. And I'll bring it over there when we do it. But this is a great way to do it. You could do it with your spare tire. Let's say you're not near a tree or you don't have any extra people. Drop your spare tire and you could spool it up like this. Only in a pinch, really. In reality, you're probably not going to have to re-spool it super tight while you're out in the field. Okay. All right, so this is all spooled up nice and tight. I'm very happy the way it went in. Having the tension, you can't do it with just your hand. You can't do it with just your hand. It never works out right. It really isn't. It isn't the right way to do it. You need tension, and a tire, especially if you're pulling it uphill, which I was doing, makes all the difference in the world. It's very simple. All you're doing is you're just pulling the line up against itself, which just wraps it really tight, and then when it comes the opposite way, you got to switch. Never step over the line while you're pulling it. Never do that. Just stop the winch, step over, or even hold it tight with your hand and bring it out a hair if you want to take the tension off of it. Step over it, then start it up again. Gloves. I'm just using some like Trademaster firm grip. Nothing insane, but they work good. I use them for demo work for the house. But we're tight. We're ready to roll. Very happy with the way this worked out. It seems like it's a good winch, and just with it idling, I sucked in all 80 feet. No issues whatsoever. I didn't feel it lagging at all. I mean, obviously it's not a tension, but yanking that thing in 80 feet, always running with just an idling truck, that's actually a pretty good test for the winch. Usually you wanna I don't know, give it a break, but it came in no problem whatsoever. So let me get this tree saver back in the truck, put my gloves in there and my controller, and we are done. We're done with this project. All right, thanks everyone. See ya.